When I was 12 years old, I was lucky enough to see the first ever Avengers film in cinemas, and since then I've seen every single MCU film in cinemas as well. So 11 years after the first Iron Man movie, it was a pretty damn special moment when all the main Avengers cast had their signatures on the end credits of Avengers Endgame in 2019. It was like a massive sign off on a 10-year plus project for the MCU and the Infinity Saga. I also grew up watching a lot of the 20th Century Fox Marvel movies growing up, and of them, the X-Men and Fantastic Four films were some of my favorite superhero action flicks as a kid. During the end credits of Deadpool and Wolverine, they had this really cool homage to the last 2 decades worth of 20th Century Fox Marvel movies that featured a montage of old set photos and behind the scenes footage with the song Good Riddance, Time of Your Life playing by Green Day, and it was like this perfect bookend to the end of an era. And just last week, a movie called Venom: The Last Dance came out in cinemas, and it's the end of a trilogy for the Venom movies that started back in 2018. And one of my favorite things to do after coming home from the cinemas used to be going online and watching all my favorite YouTube content creators do their movie reviews for it, or their commentaries on it. Since I've started doing movie reviews, I like to get my video out first and then I watch those people and see what they had to say about it, so my opinions aren't really influenced as much. Now, honestly, I haven't been able to avoid the public backlash on this film because it's pretty apparent online that a lot of people did not like it. Critics especially, I feel like it's not as poorly hated on by audiences, especially from what I've seen on Rotten Tomatoes. But anyway, I got home and I just did not feel like talking about this movie. I thought it was an absolute atrocious mess from start to finish. I'll get to my thoughts on Venom: The Last Dance a little bit later on, but the reason I wanted to make this video is predominantly on the weird montage they had at the end of the film, where it's a bunch of scenes of Eddie Brock and Venom bonding over the last 2 films, and Memories by Maroon 5 plays over it as well. And it's just like supposed to be this really emotional beat and tug at audiences' heartstrings and make you sad that this series is coming to an end and that we're not going to see these characters again. But honestly, I'm so glad that this series has come to an end, because they have put out just 3 absolutely shit Venom movies, and it just has felt like the most rushed and poorly written series to ever come out from Sony. I am really glad the series is coming to an end, but for them to put out this montage like we're meant to care that it's coming to an end is really weird to me, and it feels like they're just trying to continue on with a trend. And that's the reason I brought up the Avengers Endgame signatures and the montage in Deadpool and Wolverine, because those films and those series earned the right to have those homages in their movies and at the end of their movies, because there was so much hard work and effort put into everything that led up to those moments. And that's why they hit so hard and were emotional for audiences. But the montage in Venom: The Last Dance just feels like it was shoehorned in there because movies have done it in the past and they thought they could do it too. But honestly, I don't think they've earned it. I don't think it's very emotional. And I don't think people have cared that much about these movies for them to make that montage hit the way that they think it should. So yeah, that little rant on the weird montage in the movie is done. Now let's get to my thoughts on the rest of the movie. I'll start off with the villain. All the scenes with the villain in the movie are in the trailer. That's it. It's so strange. It's so bizarre. The villain isn't even in this movie. He's in the trailer. That's the most you see of him. Anyway, the CGI on the villain looks like a World of Warcraft cinematic. And to be fair, the World of Warcraft cinematics are fantastic. But for a big budget movie, they feel so out of place. It's like you're watching a video game character in a movie. Not like proper, really good CGI. To be fair, the CGI on the symbiotes and one of the monsters in the movie is really, really good. But for some reason, it just looks like a fucking cinematic straight out of a PS4 game when it comes to Null, who's the villain. Another thing I'd like to add about Null, who's the villain in the movie, is the fact that he's played by Andy Serkis, which I find so funny because Andy Serkis directed Venom: Let There Be Carnage, and so he went from directing Venom: Let There Be Carnage to being a like 30-second add-on to Venom: The Last Dance. So it's like he got demoted from director to a cameo in the third movie, which is just hilarious. It's like, you did such a bad job with the second movie. We'll give you something for the third movie, but you'll be a side piece that is on screen for 30 seconds. And like I said before, I think the best part about this movie, and the best part of all three Venom movies, is the CGI for the symbiotes. Like, when there's a shit ton of action going down on screen and there's symbiote goo everywhere, it looks really fucking good, and it's held up pretty well, I'd say, from the first movie as well. So yeah, that's my only positive for this movie. All right, so onto the story now. I would say this story is like, it's like they wrote this script the night before it was due. If you've ever had an essay due for homework and you had 2 weeks to do it and you don't do it until the night before, this is what that script feels like they've done. It's the most incoherent piece of mess I've ever seen play out on the big screen when it comes to the story. None of the ideas feel like they cooperate. A lot of the side plots feel like they take up more of the movie than the actual main plot. There's like this Van family in the movie, and they slow down the movie considerably. It's so boring when they're on screen. They're not even enjoyable characters to see. But anyway, there's this Van family. There's a dude, there's a couple kids and the wife, and they're just traveling down route, and they meet Eddie Brock along the way, and that's how they kind of meet. And for the final movie in a trilogy of like a superhero action film, you'd expect to see more action, but this Van family takes up so much time, and it's only like an hour and 50-minute movie, which also feels really long but really quick at the same time, because they just jump from side plot to side plot to side plot. It's just the most incoherent piece, like, mess I've ever seen. Like I said, it's like handing in your homework or doing your homework the night before it's due, and it's just an absolute mess. On the note of story as well, there is a new kind of idea brought into Venom, and that's this weird codex. It's like on the back of his neck. You'll be able to see it through the perspective of these monsters, and these monsters are like fucking, I don't know if it's like 4 or 6-legged things that have like wood chipper mouths, and you see all the blood and shit spatter out from the back of their neck after they eat someone or whatever. And from their perspective, if Venom is in like full Venom form, you can see this weird yellow glowing thing on the back of his neck that's like this weird codex that Null needs to be released from this weird prison or whatever he's in. Anyway, Venom knows, and Eddie Brock knows, that if they go into full Venom mode, these creatures can see that codex and they can hunt him down. If he's not in this mode, the creatures can't see him, and they're pretty much blind. They can only see the codex for some reason. So with that in mind, they meet up with Mrs. Chen along the way. They meet up with her in Vegas, I'm pretty sure, and she's having a night on the town, and she's fucking gambling in one of the casinos, and she has a room upstairs, and Eddie Brock needs a room, and they need to fucking lay low for a little bit because they have this monster chasing after them. Anyway, and they have the military chasing after them as well. And they know that if they go in Venom mode, this monster will find them. So they go upstairs, they go to her room. Mrs. Chen is a bit drunk. She wants to dance. Venom wants to dance with her as well. Eddie Brock doesn't want to dance. Venom wants to dance with her in full Venom mode. If he goes full Venom mode, the monster finds him. He knows this. He wants to dance for some reason. So he goes full Venom mode, he forces Eddie Brock to dance with Mrs. Chen, and the monster finds them. Did they forget that the monster can see them when they go in full Venom mode? Like, did the writers forget this? Not the characters. Did the writers forget this? Because it's like, why would you do that? It's so stupid. Why would you do that? You know the monster is going to find you if you go in full Venom mode, but they do it anyway. And for what? To dance with Mrs. Chen? Is this what we're missing in Venom movies? A dance sequence? Really? That's why he goes in full Venom mode? Not for some like fucking miraculous fucking damsel in distress saving moment, like someone's in danger and he needs to go in Venom mode to save a person. No, he goes in Venom mode to dance with Mrs. Chen. It's just the stupidest reason I think they could have come up with for the monster to find them and for the military to catch up with them as well. I'm sure there is a much better reason to go in full Venom mode, to have the military and the monster to find them, if that's what really needed to happen. there could have been a much better reason for it, but they just had to have this weird dance sequence in it. And I have they not learned their lesson from like I think it's Morbius or whatever, where they had that weird dance sequence. They just had to have another dance sequence in this movie. Yeah, I don't know why that was important. So yeah, those were probably my biggest gripes with this movie. I really did not feel like talking about this movie after seeing it, but I just had to talk about the weird montage. That was the main thing I wanted to talk about. Obviously, I had a lot of other thoughts about the movie too that I just felt like getting out there and getting off my chest. And now I feel like I can go watch my other YouTube content creators and see their thoughts on it, because that's what I like to do after watching a movie. But I've been holding off on that to get my thoughts out there first and get my opinions out there that are uninfluenced for the most part. The last thing that I want to bring up is Tom Hardy. He's such a good actor. He's phenomenal. One of my favorite movies ever. I think it's Warriors. I think that's what it's called. I can't remember exactly, but it's like an MMA movie where two brothers fight each other, and they're in this like contest, and they end up fighting each other at the end of it. He's phenomenal in that movie. He's really, really good in what's it called now? That gangster movie. He's a great actor, dude. He is so his talents are so wasted on the Venom movies. I'm glad they're done. I hope he doesn't have to do another one. I implore him to do better movies, because he can do better movies. He's such a good actor. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Venom: The Last Dance. The montage is the main thing I wanted to talk about. Not earned. Just a shoehorned trend that Sony put in there because they thought they could and they can't. We've got Craven, the last something or other. Craven is coming out at the end of the year, I believe, as well. So hopefully that's good. I don't have high hopes for it based on Sony's current trajectory at the moment and their past couple films. So yeah, hopefully Aaron Taylor Johnson can do something with that. But he's another great actor. I hope he doesn't waste his talents on this studio and these movies as well. Yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it. Those are my thoughts. I wanted to get this video out, and because I was like, I'm telling myself today I don't get to play Call of Duty on stream, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 on stream, until I make this video. So now I'm going to go do now I'm going to go do something fun and play fucking Black Ops 6.